So here we go, and as said and promised, I'm going to talk about virtual UCMs, so communications that are not physical there, but they are there as a part of software, and the availability of that is continuously growing. So what am I planning to do? First of all, I will talk a bit about the base that you need to work with all of that, and Chris made it clear already. So you need a gateway. And if you have that gateway, you get the possibility to play with virtual UCMs, to do your own configuration, to install blueprints and so on. But first of all, I'm going to reflect what we currently have in the given version of software, and I'm going to give you an outlook about the next version to come. Directly this month is planned. After that, I'm going to guide you a bit through the Blueprint marketplace. So in the past, we were just working with a GitHub, and now it got a nice interface, so you can easily browse what's available and what's developed already. And after that, there's a small introduction of additional workshops to come up soon. So jumping to the gateway. The current version of the gateway that we have available for free download is a version we call internally 2.0.2. As you can see, and as mentioned by Chris already, we have a lot of additional support implemented. So there's OPC UA, for example, there is HTTP APIs, or there's even serial devices that you can translate from the integrated USB ports in such a hardware here, and then you translate the serial interface and can develop some special applications on that. Additionally, there are changes in the monitoring, in MQTT communication in the database, and so on. And we are continuously working on the performance of the firmware of the gateway firmware itself to be able to be operated on lower performing hardware. So there was a lot of improvement already on older type of NUCs, and there's still some improvement to come. As you can see left side on the screen, so we mentioned already the RS485 interface, and there was a question yesterday if we can directly collect data on that. We cannot, but we can get it. So the Modbus itself, the electrolyzer itself is just talking Modbus, and for sure parallelly to the cloud. But there are inverters or converters available on the market that translates the Modbus TCP communication into RS485. So if there's something needed that's available on the market, and if support is needed, we are here to help. There's another very general question on the hardware itself. So on our website, we define the requirements for the NUC, and currently we are limited to the Intel NUC technology. But we are looking into that as well to get some improvement here and to make it platform independent on Linux base in the future. Okay, then a small outlook. Sorry. So giving a little forecast what's next in the version 2.1 to come within this month. Always working on the performance of the firmware itself, so that's clear. There's some plans to do smart control of groups of electrolyzers. Philip mentioned it before, there was already a dryer control network where you can send some group commands, but that should be extended to easier control and operate a huge set of electrolyzers. Then there will be new data logger features, and we are going to integrate two new things, which is Docker Compose and which is Grafana. So the Docker Compose is a tool to run customized software on top of our gateway firmware, and the Grafana itself is a multi-platform open source analytics tool. So in case, for example, you run your NUC in idle mode without any internet connection, you can extract the data there and get a nice graphical overview through Grafana. Jumping to the next point, and as mentioned, there is a new marketplace available. We call them Blueprint Marketplace. You can visit it easily on the marketplace.enapter.com. And I'm just going to show you live what that means. So I have that page open here. If you put marketplace.enapter.com, that is where you reach. And the biggest button you can see and that you should press is go to catalog. So it just gives you a good category of what's available, what's integrated, and it directly comes with some symbols so that you can easily recognize what's in there. So if I just go by category and fuel cells, you see, or you can directly find which versions are supported already. And if you click just one of these examples, it gets you a good understanding on how it was integrated, how it was connected, so which signals do we expect, how to connect it with devices, and so on. So it really gets you the cool overview of everything you need to be successful with your integration. It gives you some troubleshooting hints down here if you're running into any issues while doing so. It gives you the reference manual of the external vendor as well. So by clicking this, you are getting to the manual of such device. And in case you need physical hardware instead of a virtual UCM, this is a way to order the UCM. So if you reach out here, you can just get a quote and order it through here. Jumping back a step. So if you currently scroll through that and you don't find the device you are looking for, it would simply mean that maybe nobody integrated it yet, or we are currently working on it. So there's another button where you can just say, okay, I'm interested in integrating my own fuel cell, which you don't reflect here. So click that button, define your use case, and this will go out to the Enapter development team to review and to share the latest news on where we stand with that development. Another quick and easy cool way from here is the two links over here. So for developers, simply takes you to a website that a lot of you might know already. So that brings you to the Enapter development toolkit, where you can do your own programming and where you can get familiar with detailed blueprints. So always worth a visit. And the other one is a lovely symbol here of the GitHub. So if you go there, that is what you know from the past. That is where we reflected available blueprints and so on. And you can look to some projects that are currently ongoing. Okay. Then I would say we just move over to a live demo. So I'm going to show you my house as Chris did before. So what I have at home is two systems. Both are based on virtual UCMs. But let's have a look what we have in this side. So we have a gateway. This one is online, it's showing green. So if I click that one, I get some nice details of the communication interface, and I get my firmware info here. So I'm up to date, I have the latest version, which is great. Jumping back, there is a category for the gateway, and there's two things. You can define rules here if you want to implement any, and you can go to the virtual UCMs. So I told you that I have two configured currently, and that is what is shown here. But if I go to manage it, it simply shows what we have. So people that joined our last training might remember the solar carport that is in front of my house. So that one is here. And since the last training, there was an addition. It is a so-called balcony or guerrilla PV panel, so 600 watts, that is able to provide energy from the sun without any registration. And that one is coming with a very cheap and easy converter that's talking HTTP on the internet. So there's a Solax application that is providing the data, and I just implemented a virtual UCM that is collecting that data through HTTP. And what we want to do now is we just go for another one. So let's call that partner training and create a new virtual UCM to work on.
Hey, Stefan, I'm just going to jump in here. Is there any way maybe you can increase a little bit the resolution?
What about so?
It's getting a little better.
I can do more. What about that? Are we better now?
Yeah, I think we are a bit better. Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay, cool. Good. So it's currently creating the virtual UCM. And if I, oh, one click too much. So going back here. So it just created that. It put an ID for it, and it gives me the option to delete it, but I don't want to do that now. So what I do now is just share my screen on here. So I have the Enapter app on my mobile, and I'm just going to show you what's in there. Just closing that so that you know where I start from. I click the Enapter icon, getting to the same site that is reflected on the left side in the cloud. And what you currently see is the solar carport. You have the solar X1, we have the gateway itself, and there's already a new device called partner training, but it doesn't know who it is, so it has no category yet. So clicking that partner training tells you the same thing. So we have a cool connection, the module is created successful, but what to do with it? So it gets you a selection here, select blueprint. Doing so, it takes you to the menu for whatever device you want to install. So let's imagine we have a BWT water purification system that can talk on Modbus. Then I simply select the upper one, click the install button. It asks me if I really want to do that for sure, and if I want to install it in my site and in the device called partner training, and it's a clear yes, so we continue on that one. That takes us a bit, so it's just downloading the code, and quickly after that, it tells us that everything was successful, which is great. So we are moving to done and just moving one back on the arrow. And what you recognize is that it got already a symbol here. So with a blueprint, you automatically change the layout of the virtual UCM, and it's reflecting a water purification system. What it does as well is bringing in basic configuration options. So if you look to the upper right corner, you see that settings. So if I click there, it's showing me the details of what I have. I can select the blueprints, but if I click the lowest button, which is commands, I can go to the configuration itself. So to communicate on Modbus, what do I need to do? Clearly, I need to put an IP address. So where is my Modbus device? And to be able to communicate, I also need to reflect the Modbus unit ID. So this is the two entries I have here. I can directly type from the app, and from there save and configure it and get the configuration done. All of that is already in the blueprint. I can read out the configuration, so that's a bit senseless, yes, because there's nothing in. But if you have the configuration and just want to see, you can go over there. Jumping back into the device itself. Currently, I'm not getting the data as mentioned, but just wanted to reflect that there is charts associated to that as well that fit to a water purification system. So you see here, what is the membrane out conductivity, what is the dimin of the tank pressure, and so on. So what if I don't want to use this water management system, water purification system for my system? I can easily reuse that virtual UCM. So I can go back to the configuration and I can just say, okay, you are no longer water purification system. You will communicate with my Tesla Powerwall now. Doing the same thing. So uninstalling the old one, installing the new one. And then in just some seconds, you should see that on the screen. The device itself is moving to the symbol of the Tesla Powerwall. And with that, it's moving to another configuration options. So if I go to configuration now, I can configure the Powerwall. What do I need? Oh, I cannot because I don't have access. So I can configure the connection, and after that I can configure the Powerwall, and there's some user information that you might need from Tesla on configuring that. Right. So this is just a reflection on how easy it really is to just install Blueprints to get it configured. And the same thing can be done on the left side here in the cloud. So the device is created now. It is in status OK. And if I click it, it's getting me some information. It reflects what we have just seen in the app. And it's telling me that it is not configured. So once I do that, this information would disappear and it would start communicating with my devices. Okay. Another thing on the, so I'm stopping the live presentation now and going back to my normal presentation. So I mentioned already that there is a way to suggest your own device. That's important. Just visit the marketplace, define what you have, and I just have a screen here of what the form would look like with your information. And after that, in case of any questions back, and so we would communicate back with you. Okay, that takes us to the end of the presentation, and I hope that I could grow some interest in all this lovely software that is very easily able to communicate with third-party devices, even with older devices that cannot be easily integrated normally. But there's still a bit of work to do. So if any of you is interested in doing that or in developing your own blueprints, we are currently planning for a so-called advanced blueprint development workshop. That's nothing we want to show in the training because it's getting far too deep into the technique itself and would bore some people. So if you're interested, I'm just mentioning it here, reach out to the support team on support@enapter.com. Get us your use case either through the marketplace, suggest device, or even in the ticket. And then we are going to reach out and arrange something on a advanced workshop. Then thanks for listening, and let's see if we got some questions in.
Okay, Stefan, thank you very much. Very nice presentation. And also the step-by-step guide was very clear.
Good to hear, thanks.
So seems like we have so far one question is about integration. So the question says, we want to control 30 EL211 modules from our PLC. What would the best choice be, a Modbus TCP or use the NUC with an Enapter gateway and connect it with our PLC?
Mm-hmm. Nice question and great setup. So the PLC would work well for you. And another option is really to use the next version of gateway. So the ones that I mentioned being the 2.1, which has a group control. So if you like to integrate the gateway into your with your PLC, you need to check that the PLC is powerful enough to really support the big data flow that comes from the 30 electrolyzers connected. The good thing or the beauty in the integration of MQTT is that you can just make one command for start-stop, and the same for the production rate. So there's several options, and you should just check out what is the best, depending especially on the availability on your PLC.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the answer. Seems like there are no more questions here in the chat. I cannot see.
Okay, if there are any others coming in, that's fine. If later questions come up, check out what we just presented or what I just presented. So there's a lot of explanation in that, especially on the use cases, on the blueprints. So there's a description of the blueprints, what they do, what kind of data they get out of the devices. So that's really helpful. And if there are still questions left after reading that, reach out to support@enapter.com and we are here to help.